We are going to talk about the future today, and the only guy I know who claims to be from the future is Brian White. So, Brian, could you help me out?
Well, first of all, I would like to say to those watching from the Time Bureau that I am definitely not a time traveler, and that those rumors have been completely blown out of proportion.
And 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 if you were, you'd be rich.
Yes.
Yes. I think there's a show, Brian. You've written some movies and stuff. I think there's a show, Brian, where you would have somebody go into the future and they would know what the stock market's going to do tomorrow, and they'd be too stupid when they came back to the present to take advantage of it. What do you think?
That's I think that's great. Yeah, I went and bought puts. I think that's the right one.
Right.
Mm.
Whoops.
And it's gone. It's all gone. And then the rest of the movie is him going back and arguing with himself, trying to stop it.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay, so we're going to talk about the future today, and I want to start by saying that we have a couple of very solid guys out there that go to a tremendous amount of effort to figure out what the numbers are going to be next year, and that would be we have Troy Teslike, and we have, I'm going to forget his name again, so help me out, Brian. We have uh,
James
James
Stevenson.
Stevenson. Yes, James Stevenson. So we have those two guys, and they really go into detail. And as I've said before on the show many months ago, and I want to repeat it now, I have run pretty big companies. I mean, 5 million, 6 million sales. And I have spent the kind of time that they're spending to try to predict my next year into details. And it's my company. I know the customers. I know exactly Target's going to buy this much, Walmart's going to buy this much. I mean, I can kind of predict, and I'm still way off every time that I do these detailed predictions. So I take their predictions with a grain of salt, but I understand that they're doing way more work than I am to at least come up with their base case. Having said that, I think they're trying to outdo each other on the low side this time. You've got James at 2,070,000, and you've got Troy at 2,000,001.
So
So
James's number. So first of all, James has the unique advantage of having an assistant who does all the real brain power work. Loki, as we know, is the real talent of the operation. Let's just get that out there. I think James's number is too low. We're already at a 2 million run rate. We'd only need to add 70,000 units. Cybertruck is likely to produce more than that by itself. That puts us over James's number. I would take the over. Were
yeah,
I a betting man, which I am not. So, and Troy's number you said was
2.1.
2.1. So the same,
Yeah,
roughly the same.
yeah, yeah.
Troy's is more realistic. I haven't looked at, because I was on the road, I didn't catch all the videos over the last 2 weeks, but, and Troy doesn't make videos and I don't subscribe to him on Patreon. So I haven't seen his in-depth analysis. He tends to be low at the beginning of the quarter and then moves gradually higher as time goes on to reach a more realistic number. So I don't know anything about his methodology beyond that. So I would say that, but 2.07 is quite low. If we're already at 2 million, and remember, it was not that long ago that 500,000 in a year was exciting. It was exciting. Now we're at 4 times that. Tesla's making over 5,000 cars a day. Lucid's making 6,000 cars a year. And and talk about predicting the future is hard. Predicting the past is easy. I'm still getting comments on the video I made June 7th about Lucid being in deep, deep trouble. I'm still getting comments from people saying, oh, Tesla fanboys scared. No, I'm not. Guys, it's already happened. Everything I said was going to happen has happened. If you'd have sold when I made that video, you would have not lost half your money. I don't know. I can. And then now, of course, we've got people with the Neo videos saying, well, you've got it all wrong. It's like, okay, so I called Arcimoto, I called Lucid, I called Nicola, I called VinFast, all these problems I called, and this is the first one I'm going to be wrong on. Guys, it's not predicting the future. It's just looking at today's numbers.
So
So
what I'm beginning to understand then, Brian, is you're really good at picking the losers. I
yeah.
didn't know
The
this about
losers are easy to spot. The winners, you have to have all the right pieces and then some luck as well. But for losers, it's easy to spot. You don't have the pieces.
You should be a short seller. You should be a short seller.
If imagine we've got two people playing chess, and I want you to predict which, who's going to win and who's going to lose, and one of them's missing pieces. I'm just going to go out on a limb right now and say there's no way that guy's going to win. So yeah, there's a whole tournament and a couple of guys show up missing a rook.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, they could pull it out. Who knows? Maybe they're playing against a chicken. So a literal chicken, a pigeon, perhaps.
Possibly.
So in terms of predicting the present, let's get back to that.
Yeah.
If you're already at a 2 million run rate,
right,
in order to not grow by more than 5%, you need some big limitations that I don't see.
Right.
Maybe the Berings or the Strait of Hormuz is closed indefinitely.
Right. Right.
They would just plan around it. We would just overproduce for a couple of weeks so the parts can get there quicker, back in business. Maybe you're at maximum capacity in Shanghai. I would argue you are already close to that. There's always a little headroom for improvement, especially now that we've got the Model 3 refresh. Production in China can increase over last year's numbers by 5%. Why couldn't it? And then you've got, what else have you got? We know in Berlin and Texas, there is more than 5% capacity remaining. You could add a whole shift to both of those factories. That's an extra third. That's 30% out of those. I'd heard from the engineer that I spoke with. I got to speak with a drivetrain engineer who was driving a Cybertruck at a charging station. And because they do charge nice and slow, he had a few minutes to chat with me. He said capacity in Fremont is 500,000. And I said, boy, that's lower than I think it is, but okay. It's outside of his area of expertise. But Fremont could certainly pick up another 5%. It would need more demand on S and X, which appear pretty soft to me. But just this refreshed Model 3, which we will be seeing shortly. Right. I mean, any day deliveries begin. They've already been making some. There is some downtime as they convert and ramp, but then there is new efficiencies. They'll come out quicker. I think that would be the total number of Model 3s made this year will be higher than last year, even with that downtime, because of the increased efficiencies, because of the increased demand. So where would the softness be? Because then we've got Cybertruck to throw on top of it. I think 2.1 is too low. I think 2.2 is likely. And I suspect on the earnings call, we will hear guidance for the year, and that guidance will be north of 2.2. Where, I don't know, because when I time travel, which I don't, I'm only allowed to go to certain dates, and that date was a blackout because I didn't have the right time travel package.
I see.
You gotta pay extra for the good dates, so
yeah. So
they wouldn't let me go to the election day either. So
yeah. So last year they gave a range. They said 1.8 is our base case. We're confident of 1.8, but we're aspirationally going to go for 2 million. This year, would you suspect maybe a similar range to where maybe 2.2 becomes we know we can do 2.2, but aspirationally we're looking at 2.4. Do you think they might do something like that?
I think they would be wise to do a range, and I think they would be wise to put the bottom end somewhere that they can set in stone. I think setting the bottom at 2.1 and the top at like 2.3 would be reasonable. And then into 25 and 26, as the compact is out, as the Cybertruck is ramping into full production, we'll see some more exciting numbers again.
Okay, because I noticed that that James was only looking at 2.8 for 25, which still would not be getting us anywhere close to the 50% per year, idea. And Elon didn't say it would be forever, but he did say he wants to get to 20 million by the end of the decade. And you got to come fairly close to that 50% year over year if you're going to get to that 20 million. So we can't get too far behind and still have time to catch up.
Well, it only needs to double another 3.5 times from today, but 50% slows that down substantially. I don't know about 25 because we're already in 24 and we don't yet have groundbreaking on compact factories. If in 25 we get close to finished on more than one compact factory, 26 and beyond will be gangbusters because the market has a real hunger for cars under 30 grand that are capable.
Right.
And if they're making 2, 3, 4 different models, that will be all on the same compact platform, which is what I've been predicting for years. I think I've been saying for probably 2 years now that I think there'll be one platform with a different design from each design studio on each different continent for different use cases, and then they can, ship them.
Yeah.
If somebody really wants the Shanghai compact and they're willing to pay the 28% import duty, great, do it. Because I think 28% on 25 grand is not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And it is possible that if the volume is low enough, Tesla could import them without the 28% tax, because the way the tax works is there has to be a direct trade between the companies. Volvo of North America exports a lot of goods to China, and that is why they are able to import electric Volvos and Polestars without paying that 28% tax, but they can only do it in volumes commensurate to their output from the US to China. So it's possible that the chips being made in Arizona, there's a fab going in from TSMC, and I think many of the chips are already made in the US. It is possible that the dollar value on those would be enough to allow the re-import of tens of thousands, but not hundreds of thousands of cars without the tariff. To be determined. Tax law, international tax law, is complicated. So I think we are going to see the compact rolling out from multiple factories on multiple continents, not quite simultaneously, but nearly so. And that doing so is going to make 26 and beyond ludicrous. It's going to make them bonkers. And the factories to build the batteries are already being built. If these are using LFP, which I assume they will due to simple material constraints,
Right.
I don't think there's enough cobalt to make 20, 30, 40 million EVs. But there doesn't need to be. And especially if it's a lightweight compact that doesn't need the higher battery, we're in business, baby.
Well, okay, so I'm getting ready this weekend to start putting together my real final numbers for 2020. Well, my final numbers of January for 2024. So let me just make sure that I have your clear idea of what's possible. Okay, because this is what you specialize in. So my understanding is that that right now, not counting Cybertruck, we have a capacity in Austin of either 500,000 Model Ys or 1 million Model Ys. I'm a little unclear, but last year we only made 170,000. I forget, something on that, or less than 200,000, which would give us headroom of over 300,000 just by adding shifts or lines or whatever is not there yet. I think you've told me before, but I'm a little unclear whether there's only one line and they can put in a second line, whether they've already got 2 lines, but they're only using 1 line. I think there's only 2 shifts, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, is it true? Could we get to 500,000 if they started hiring right now, tomorrow? Could we get to 500,000 in Austin, or could we get beyond 500,000 Model Ys in Austin?
The factory will support 500,000 without a doubt. If you're running all lines, all shifts, without a doubt. The factory is the same size as Giga Shanghai if you include all of Giga Shanghai's buildings. If you include the outbuildings from Giga Texas, the cathode plant, the die shop. Texas is bigger, and Shanghai is unlikely to get any bigger. They're out of land. Shanghai can make 1 million. You're telling me the Texas factory, which is newer and more sophisticated, can't produce 1 million vehicles? It can. The question becomes demand, because you've got 4 factories making Model Ys around the world,
Right.
and you can't sell 3 million Model Ys. It appears to be a number that is too high for any single model of any maker anywhere, because it is still an upmarket car. 50 grand in the US, 38 grand in China, something like that. This is still an expensive car. It's still aspirational for a whole lot of people. So the question then becomes demand. Can interest rates falling spur demand sufficiently to increase 10, 20% production? If it can, they will make as many as the market requests,
So,
and they will do so very effectively.
so those who watch my channel know that I believe that the demand in the United States for the Model Y is multiple times of what it is right now, because we haven't even touched the country's, the rest of the country. We've touched the coasts where we have Model Ys everywhere you look. There's a Model Y. I just came home, and on my little stretch of road for 2 miles from the freeway to my house, there was at least 3 Model Ys that I passed or was nearby. I mean, it's just, they're everywhere. You go to, the middle of Iowa, you're not going to see a Model Y all day, unless it's in a charging station in Chicago someplace, where somebody found one Model Y that was having trouble with their battery last night in the cold. But having said that, we know there's 2%, 3%, 4% EVs in some of the states. They haven't even begun their ramp in some of these states. So to me, getting 300,000, 400,000 more Model Ys sold in the United States next year should be a nothing burger if there was the right marketing program.
So I have a video coming up in a couple days with Brian Reeby from Brian Reeby Drives Electric. He is in Minnesota, and the topic is, well, there's 2 topics in 2 separate videos. One is about the cold. The second one is about why is there insufficient demand in the Midwest? And we look at charging infrastructure. We look at all the different issues. We look at whether it's a cultural issue. He concludes it is not, where in places like Michigan, it kind of is. And so that is an issue that we are tackling head on in a couple of days. Come by and check it out. But you're right. There's a lot of the country. They're so thick on the coasts. I almost got it. I tried to get in the wrong car the other day because there was the same color Model Y, 2 spots from where I parked with the same wheels. And there was a big SUV in between, so I couldn't see my car. And I'm like, oh man, did I curb the wheels? Oh, this is my car. It's got a white interior. Crying out loud. So I got to get a custom wrap. That's what I got to do.
That's it. That's
I never forget which car is mine. They're just too many moving pieces to deal with right now. So there is a lot of market that doesn't have them yet. But the bigger thing is there are people who just, regardless of how common they are, just want one. It checks all the boxes.
Right.
And so the demand will continue. The prices may continue to come down. Parts are no longer crazy expensive to get. A lot of the supply chain, anyone who is still complaining about supply chain issues, better have a pirate ship firing on them, because that's no longer a thing.
Well, let's move.
Yeah.
Let's move to Berlin. Same thing in Berlin. If I have my understanding right, that factory is capable of making 500,000 either Model Ys or Model 3s, or combined together. Right now, made 200, maybe just had above 200,000 last year, I think, something in that range anyway. So, do they have plenty of capacity to move up to 500,000? Again, adding, I think in their case, it is about shifts. Maybe they're definitely only running 2 shifts at this time, could go to 4. Is my number right or wrong there? I'm confused.
So they absolutely have more capacity. The question is, can they keep selling in Europe? Is there still enough demand in Europe? And for the shape of it, for the price of it, it seems to be doing all right. Car sales are struggling in Europe right now with high rates, and there are no more incentives in almost any country.
Wow.
There remain some penalties for not getting an electric in some places, but no, there's no more carrots, it's only sticks. So that impacts overall affordability. I think Tesla's uniquely positioned that they can reduce costs, reduce consumer prices more than some of their competitors. And if you look, Tesla is now outselling many of the legacy brands. They are climbing up the ranks quite aggressively, and this year are likely to pass BMW and Mercedes, which is I don't know, something that a lot of people said would never happen. And these guys do not have necessarily compelling electric vehicles. The BMWs are very nice, they're very comfortable, but they're expensive. They're very expensive for what you get. I drove an or an iX, or the competitor for the 5 Series. And I thought, well, for the price, for the performance, it's priced like an X, but performs like a Y. And that's not where you want to be. So, yeah, but it's really comfy. Yeah, the Model Y is almost as comfortable, and a third less money. And then you've got Mercedes, who is making absolute dogs. Not only are they ugly in ways no Mercedes should be, the performance isn't great, the range isn't great, and the price is astronomical. But if you'd like to pay a whole bunch of extra money, you can get traffic jam assist, which will sometimes kind of allow you to take your eyes and hands off the road in situations that statistically do not exist.
Yeah.
So that's a party trick if you really schedule your party very, very carefully, which I don't know, man. It seems
you're still planning a Christmas party. I think I see that you've got your Christmas.
I haven't taken it down yet, but I will. The I'll
still
get
January.
around to it.
Still January.
Still January. Still counts. So the question is, can Berlin make more? They have the capacity. What's less clear is if they have the market. And we did see a trend of decreasing sales from Tesla in the last 4 months of the year.
Okay, so let me add it up. I'm pretty good at math. 500,000 for Austin, 500,000 for Berlin. That's 1 million. Am I right? Is this right?
Yeah. 5 and 5 equals 10. I think you got that one squared away.
Okay, and then you've got Shanghai. I believe that is at least 1 million. Can we just give it 1 million?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
1 million's like a slam dunk.
For sure.
Okay, so that's 2 million. So we're already at 2 million. Now we can add your Cybertrucks. Let's make that 70,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2,070,000. We are now at
James's number without Fremont.
Okay, without Fremont. And Fremont, you just said a minute ago, did you say 600,000 or 500,000? What's your
500?
Call it
at least 500.
So that's 2,570,000. Am I right or wrong about this?
You're right. It's not about what they can produce. It's more going to be about what the market can buy.
So
and
then
we don't have an answer to that yet.
So then that becomes where I kind of go crazy. And I think to myself, Elon, you said last year you were going to put the pedal to the metal. So Elon, this is my plea. This is my cry. If your marketing department doesn't have it together and they can't sell 2,570,000 vehicles next year, call me. I've done this.
I think you're checking all the boxes, Randy. I think you got it figured out.
All right. Well, now I can do my thing. I can put together my numbers. I'm not going to predict 2,570,000. I'm still haven't decided. I think I'm still going to end up around 2.35 because I don't have the confidence right now that the marketing department is as strong as it should be, that they're proactively going after rental car agencies, that they're proactively going after fleets, that they're proactively going after the Midwest of the United States. I don't see it, and maybe I'm wrong, but if they were doing,
here's what I suggest you do.
Yeah.
Is why don't you predict a sale rate of that for Q4 of next year? Would you be more comfortable doing that by saying in Q4 it'll be 2.57 divided by 4?
Right. There you go. So they'd have that run rate. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That might be a possibility. but I don't know. We'll have to think about it. I'll have to muse.
There are a lot of factors beyond our scope of capacity to understand. We don't know what rates will be at the end of the year
No,
or
we
the
don't.
middle of the year. We don't know what the economy will be like, consumer confidence. There's a lot of macro indicators that will determine the floor and the ceiling, and we cannot yet see them because I'm not allowed to use my time travel ability to look at financial markets.
But I was having so much more fun when I could tell everybody Tesla can sell every car it can make. That was just such a great line. I don't want to give it up, you know? I don't know. What do you
People are
think?
still saying it. People still say all the time, yeah, but you'll notice they sell every car they make. Right. But they could make more cars.
Yes. Brian, I am so thrilled to be able to have you on my channel yet again, even though you've been to the cold Midwest. No, to the cold Las Vegas. It was pretty cold there too, right?
It was very cold. It was in
Very
the
cold.
40s.
And now you've come home to the cold again. I don't know. You're chasing the
Freezing.
cold. Thank you, Brian, again, as always, and to all of you out there. It's been great talking to you.